Okay, hello YouTube. Give me a second. Let me get Facebook up here, and we'll get things underway here. Yeah, depending on how many people are in the chat, I may just run a half an hour today. I got a lot of stuff to do. But if people are here and they have questions, I will definitely address their questions. All right, so let me get myself in the right place here. Page. Yeah. Do this. Okay, I just had to make sure I'm up and running on Facebook, and it looks like we are good to go there. That's always good. Okay, so uh, I wanted to talk about some things that you should be familiar with. And actually, nothing there. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I should do. That's what I'm going to do. All right. There is a test that we're going to go into, and like I said, we'll probably run about a half an hour unless people have questions. Um, okay. To see the questions, you have to be on. You should be following me on Facebook. Um, this one is Army Aviation Information for the United States Army SIFT. The question is posted. If you're following me on Facebook, you should see the question posted. And the question is as follows. A helicopter is a type of gyrocraft, B, a type of rotorcraft, C, a category of rotary wing airplanes, or D, a subgroup of gyrocopters. The answer is a type of rotorcraft. Yeah, for my Facebook people, there's pretty much, you guys are just gonna have to listen in because I can't really present. Most of this is all images. Okay, the next Army Aviation information, Army Aviation information question is, okay, here's the question. It's a fill in the blank. Helicopter turbine engines produce blank thrust per pound than piston engines. The helicopter turbine engines produce less, the same, more, or the same, but only after factoring in the effective density altitude. And the answer to that is more. The turbine engine was just like the next level. Um, when you go back to the days of Orville and Wilbur Wright, those planes were powered by uh, propeller. And while I'm here and we're talking about this, uh, there is a small amount of fixed wing aviation in the Army, from what I understand. Like I think it's the C9, which is the King Air or something like that. So there is. So that's actually a turbine or a turboprop, or what we call a turbine propeller. Inside, you have a turbine engine, and it's connected to a propeller, and that's actually the driving system for the propeller. Instead of the piston engines like your car with the cylinders and the crankshaft and all that and everything. So, yeah, helicopter engines produce more thrust per pound than piston engines. You're just there's more power with turbine engines. Okay, next question. And again, you should be following me on Facebook if you want to see these questions. All right, let's get this posted. I'm wondering if I can. Okay. The main forces acting on a helicopter are: A is induced lift, mass, thrust, and form drag. B is lift, weight, thrust, and drag. C is lift, gravity, air resistance, and rotor vortex drag. And D is none of the above. There are four basic forces of flight, and it will be B, lift, weight, thrust, and drag. But we have to understand that there is a subcomponent. There is a subcomponent of drag, induced drag, and parasite drag. The induced drag is just a byproduct of lift. And I'll go into details, but for your purposes, there are subcomponents of one of the four basic forces. So initially, thrust, weight, lift, and drag are the basic four forces, but there are subcomponents to drag, and that's induced drag and parasite drag. And I will go in depth more, but induced drag, just because we are creating lift, we're going to get induced drag automatically because we're creating lift, and the difference is in pressure on top of the rotor and below the rotor. So as it's going through that rotational relative wind, you have pressure differences on the top and bottom of the main rotor, and induced drag is going to be caused because that's happening. So, but I will go into all the forms of drag. So don't worry. I just wanted to make sure we touch on that. So the main forces acting on a helicopter are lift, weight, thrust, and drag. Okay, let's get the next one. Okay, I'm gonna post this. I'm really not crazy about this question, and I don't know if you would even see this on the SIFT. So give me a sec here. I just want to. I can't even find it. sorry, guys. Just give me a moment here. I'm just trying to check on something because and you know what, guys? I'm not even going to post this. I'm not going to post this question because I think it's a stupid question. And I doubt, I mean, I've been debriefing guys on the SIFT for years, and I just never, ever, like, just, oh man, I got this question. So we're going to omit that one. And sorry for the delay, guys. You didn't open it. Okay. Let's move along here. Okay, we're posting on Facebook. On the post page. Alright, and that is up and posted. Alright, so the question is as follows, okay. Depending on the type of helicopter, main rotor system components can include A, stabilizer bar, upper and lower swash plates and counterweights. B, pitch horns, teeter or coning hinges, and blade grips. C, pitch and scissor links and control rods. And then D, all of the above. It's all of the above. A helicopter will have a stabilizer bar, upper and lower swash plates. If you look at all the helicopters, they're going to have a stabilizer bar, upper and lower swash plates, counterweights, pitch horns, teetering or coning hinges, blade grips, pitch and scissor links, and control rods. Just, if you go, okay, look, there's a bunch of helicopters. 9 times out of 10, it's going to have things. So the answer is all of the above. I was just taking a peek at something in the comments because okay. Let's see. All right. Let's get another question out. And guys, bring your books, dude. Bring your books. Be like, yo, Keno, I can explain this. I mean, there's no way that, all you guys who are prepared for the SIFT or have math questions or mechanical comprehension questions, I'm here. Abuse me. That sounded a little weird. No, I don't mean it like that, but I'm just like, look, get questions. Bring them to the room. Because then it just makes me want to just cut down to like a half hour. But I'm going to do the hour. Yeah. All right. Next question is being posted, folks. Page. And it's posted. Okay, this question is as follows. Many helicopters have a horizontal stabilizer located where? And the answers are on the okay, that was a message from YouTube. All right. Many helicopters have a horizontal stabilizer located A on the mast, B on the tail boom, C on the fin, or D none of the above. They'd be on the tail boom. And I'm actually on the Facebook page. I'm going to helicopter horizontal stabilizer. I'm actually going to have a picture of. All right. This is cool. All right. So yeah, actually going to. You're going to see the image, and it's going to be a blue circle around the horizontal stabilizer. So the tail boom was the answer for the location. So you guys have a really good visual aid when you guys are considering that question. Because in a lot of cases, most guys do not have any flight training. In a lot of in a sense of like, man, this test is not fair to you guys. Um, and so this is why I try to give you guys as much information, visual aids on my page on Facebook. So when you see the question, you might be like, what's a tail boom? What's a horizontal stabilizer? Well, you see the question, hey, where's the horizontal stabilizer located? And then you can see the image following the question. So enjoy. Oh, and please like and follow. All right. Let's see here. Okay, I answered that. Okay. The purpose of the tail rotor. We talk about this damn near every week, and I am going to actually. You know what? Did I do? I did that one already. Yeah, I'm trying to. Really, this is weird. No, is to create energy, kinetic energy as transformed into potential energy as a no to produce rotational momentum that is used by the transmission to drive a generator. No, to produce anti-torque force acting perpendicular to the helicopter's longitudinal axis. Longitudinal axis produce anti-torque force acting. That's weird. Okay, guys. So the purpose of the tail rotor is to. They're called anti-torque. You use anti-torque pedals. The main torque comes from the helicopter's main rotor, and the function of the tail rotor is to counter that, because Sir Isaac's third law of motion states that for every force, there's an equal opposite force. And so, since we have a force going one way, the reaction will be our anti-torque pedals to correct that. All right, so just so we're clear, this is another one popular one that comes up. I'm going to post this. And then I'm going to follow it up with okay, there's the question, and then I'm going to follow it up with a image. Basic helicopter controls. Raining outside. All right. I like this one, guys. I really like this image. Okay, so yeah, I got a really cool image. The image is kind of like faded out, and you can see the actual controls, the actual basic helicopter controls. Hence the next question. Paste and post. Okay, wow, that was great. Where's the question? refresh. Don't trip, Kino, don't trip. A pilot controls a helicopter using A, flight instruments, hydraulic actuators, and a cyc with a twist throttle. B, flight instruments, pedals, 2 or more throttle levers, and avionics. C, pedals, a throttle with a twist grip, collective link rods, and a cyclic. Or D, pedals, and a collective throttle and cyclic. I would go with D, which would be your anti-torque pedals, a collective, a twist grip throttle, and your cyclic control. Those are the tools that a pilot uses to control a helicopter. Right. All right. Get the next question up. What's the thing to add through the helicopters? Okay. So I'm actually gonna do more of this imaging with the because I'm like, you got the question and then you actually have a diagram. I think that's pretty cool. All right, and then I'm gonna go here. Helicopter center of gravity. I am trying to get you guys a really, really good image. And this is what I like this one. Okay, I like this one. All right, so let me come here. Let's post the question. Let's grab the image. The image is from DanubeWings.com. Danube or Danube. You know, I want to give everybody their credit. All right, and I'm posting a picture. Center of gravity is it's real simple. It kills a lot of pilots and air crews, or it has done it. I think most pilots are more cognizant of it now. Not most, all. Okay. But sometimes you have to be careful because you can get yourself in inadvertent situations sometimes if you're not careful. For instance, now I know we're talking about helicopters because that's our thing today. This is the SIFT program, and I got to get my little miniature helicopter. I don't know what happened to my miniature helicopter, so I guess I'm gonna have to do this by hand. All right, but the center of gravity, after we put in the fuel, the pilots, the cargo, all this stuff, okay, the center of gravity is the point where all that weight is pretty much concentrated. All right, it's where, all that weight is concentrated there, and it's kind of like, it kind of comes back to our first class lever system in a way. You have a load moment, right? And it's like there's a forward limit and an aft limit, right? And most CG pictures look like this, like a little circle with the little thing there, right? So just think of this as your body, the body or the fuselage of your helicopter, and then there's the tail boom going to the tail rotor, okay? And let's say that this is the mast connected to the main rotor, okay? So this is the nose and that's the tail. So you have the forward and you have the aft limit, okay? In order for this helicopter to properly function, as far as weight goes, you don't want your center of gravity too far forward, the limits, or you don't want it too far aft. Now I'm going to use an airplane to simulate this, and I have to go to, well, it's not like very many stores are open, but now, if the load or the center of gravity is too far aft, I going to tail heavy, which means it's going to be hard for you to lower your nose. You're going to need to lower your nose in a lot of cases when you're landing and slowing down in a helicopter, you're going to come down like this. And airplanes are the same way too. They're very similar. Like when you come in for landing, we do a round out flare. We round out with the runway, we flare, and we aerodynamically settle to the runway. So if your center of gravity is too far back, it's going to be hard for you to push your nose forward when you need to. If the center of gravity is too far forward the limits, then you're going to be what's called nose heavy. And helicopters, that's bad for a helicopter because if you have skids, you could hook something, and so you don't want to do that. Most helicopters, they kind of have like a slightly nose up attitude when they're touching down and landing, and then the nose comes down. And it's just like very similar to airplanes. Main gear touches down first, and then aerodynamically we let the nose settle down. Okay. So the center of gravity we pretty much want very close to the mast. All right. But there are forward limits, and your instructors will show you, okay, well, this is where your center of gravity is at. Now, there's something called a reference datum. It's called a reference datum. And at this reference datum, and I'm drawing this line, I'm going to put RD for reference datum. Everything in this helicopter is measured from this reference datum. All right, so let's say that this forward was 30 inches from the reference datum, and this was 75 inches from reference datum. Well, after you put in your fuel and your passengers and your cargo, there's normally a chart that you use. And the chart will say, okay, well, your center of gravity is at 35 inches in relation to the reference datum. All right. And if it's 35 inches, you're good because it's within 30 and 75 inches. But if it said, no, your center of gravity is at 25 inches, you're nose heavy. Or if it said you're 80 inches, you're going to be tail heavy. All right. In larger aircraft, sometimes you have multiple fuel tanks, and you have to burn certain fuel tanks first so that your center of gravity doesn't slide out, because your center of gravity could slide out just based on fuel burns in larger aircraft. So sometimes we'll burn certain tanks first. Typically, like, I'll go into that because that's like, wow, that was a lot for that one question. So center of gravity, folks, is where all the weight is concentrated. All right, and talk about center of gravity limits and charts, performance charts, a little bit. We didn't really go in depth with performance charts. I was just telling you that the function of the performance chart is to tell you how many inches you are with your reference data, because you'll have a fore center of gravity limit and an aft center of gravity limit. And you want it within, we call this a window. This is the CG window. We don't want to be outside of the window. If we are outside of the window, we're going to have an undesirable flight condition. You'll be flying and be like, wow, man, I can't raise my nose, or damn, I can't lower my nose. You don't want to be in that position. You want to have full autonomy with your aircraft. You don't want limitations like that, being nose heavy or tail heavy, or even being over the limit, over your gross weight. There's a maximum weight after you put fuel, passengers, and cargo in. Let's say if your max weight is 2,000 pounds. I'm just throwing that out to 2,000 pounds. If your gross weight is 2,000 pounds, you can't be 2,500 pounds. That is right. Your helicopter is going to fly like crap. Even if it's large, okay. Your certified gross weight is, I don't know, 5,000 pounds. You don't want to be running around at 6,000 pounds. So, weight and balance is really giving a lot of pilots a lot of bad days when they did not adhere to the limitations in the pilot operating handbook. Okay, that was a mouthful. All right. Demon active center of gravity. Okay, this is a good one. here is the question being dropped. And we will go to the board on this one. So whether you're at Facebook or YouTube, you'll be okay. But the question, I'm automatically going to read the question. That won't be an issue. Oh, Scotty Flo, I just saw that. You want me to talk about a slip versus skid? Okay, I can do that. We're going to address this question first, and then I'll talk about a slip versus skid. Give me a moment. All right, and I'll check you out. And so I see you, Austin, I see you too as well. Mr. G, thanks for coming out. Scotty Flo, thanks for coming out. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in. Philip, appreciate the check-in. All right, so we're going to talk about okay, the question is posted, and the question is as follows. All right, when a pilot banks a helicopter, causing it to turn, A, the machine's weight increases, B, the machine's weight remains the same, C, the machine's gravitational drag increases. Wow, what the hell is that? And D, the vertical component of the lift vector remains the same. Okay. All right, I am going to, okay. Helicopters and horizontal component of lift. That's the first thing you need to know. I'm glad the computer didn't get all that. All right. Okay, so, there's an image, and I'm going to put two images up because horizontal component of lift is what causes a turn in both fixed and rotary wing aircraft. The reason why it turns is because of the horizontal component of lift. But this is kind of like from a physics aspect, we have to think about some vectors, and we got to look at some forces and stuff like that. Now, this first picture that you see is a helicopter making a left turn. And we're viewing the helicopter from the rear, and it's turning left, and you can see HCL, or the horizontal component of lift, and inertia going to the outside, because for every force there's an equal opposite force. You have horizontal component of lift opposing inertia. Now, I'm going to use the second one. It is going to be an airplane image, because that's like the best way that I can, it's still the same forces going on in the turn, be it fixed or rotary wing. The forces are similar, I should say, not the same. Thanks, man. All right. Okay, so that picture is uploading. Okay, if you can follow me on Facebook and see it, but if you can't, don't worry about it. So what are you looking at when you look at this image? What you're looking at is when the helicopter, and don't laugh at my artwork, guys. I'm very sensitive about my artwork. So this is the helicopter with the skids coming towards us, right? And you're going to have a lift and a weight component. All right, so this is the lift vector, and this is the weight vector. All right. No turn is going on at this point. All right, so now, also, you know what? I don't want to half-ass. All right, hold on. Load factor chart. All right, this is a nice load factor chart. Okay, I'm loading a load factor chart as well, and I will explain what this means in a moment here, or what it does while we use this load factor chart. Sorry about that, I had to pause. Okay, so we have the lift vector and we have the weight vector. Helicopters and airplanes. A helicopter straight and level flight and a fixed wing and straight and level flight. You're going to have your lift vector and your weight vector. Matter of fact, when we turn this sideways, and the thrust vector is coming forward and the drag vector is going rearward. Okay, so these are two of the basic four forces of flight already, right? Lift, weight. Now, let's say we take this helicopter and we bank to the right. Again, guys, do not laugh at my artwork. All right. So now, and what I should have done was made this vector longer. Okay, so vectors have strength, the direction, and magnitude. All right. So, all right. This is the vertical component of lift. Okay, it's acting upward. It's the vertical component of lift. What happens is some of that lift is reduced and this vector shortens. So we had that much strength, now we have this much strength because it is translated that way into the horizontal component of lift. Inertia is in that direction. And come back to our so we have a vertical component of lift shortened. Total lift then moves in this direction, guys. And look at that. It's kind of like a coordinate plane. So total lift goes in that direction. Your vertical component of lift is shortened. You've developed a horizontal component of lift, and the total lift is in that direction. Now, for every force to Isaac Newton, there's an equal opposite force. This is the resultant load. I'll just put load, but it is the resultant load. Okay. Horizontal component of lift, inertia, or what we call centrifugal force, CF. All right. Boom, 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 boom. Vertical and weight. Weight is in this direction. All right. So yeah, I guess I might as well load everything like so. Vertical, VCL, which is the vertical component of lift. All right. This is our weight. And I just wanted to make sure Sir Isaac Newton's, and this is our total lift in this direction. All right. Everybody type 1 if you guys understand what I'm getting at. Okay. So here we have we can see two of the four forces of flight. Thrust is acting this way, drag is acting that way. When we bank it, see how strong the lift was? The vertical lift, the vertical component of the lift got shorter, because it transfers some of it that direction. So your resultant or your total lift is in that direction. All right. For every force, so Isaac Newton's third law of motion, for every force there's an equal opposite force. Or for every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. So the force opposing the vertical lift is weight. The force opposing total lift is your resultant load. And the force that's opposing the horizontal component of lift is centrifugal force or inertia. And guys, please type in 1 if that makes sense to you guys, because I really wanted to hit home. Okay, I will move on. Okay, now, somebody asked about slipping and skidding. Okay. When an aircraft is flying through the air, and I'm trying to, Scotty Flo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Scotty. The last name, anyways. All right, so we're going to there are 3 types of flight conditions that you could be in a turn. All right. Um, when we are flying, and this is the top view, and this is the tail rotor here. When we're making a turn, we want the tail to be following the nose the whole time. All right, when we're making a turn. If the tail goes outside of the turn, that is a skid. If the tail goes inside the turn, about to read rotor discs, it is a skid. All right. So this is normally when your flight or your, how do I word this? This is when you're not coordinated, when you're not in a coordinated turn. All right. Now, you have an instrument inside your aircraft called a turn coordinator. All right. But I don't really think that the test is going to go that deep. You'd have to know it for flight school, but basically, when your tail is out, when your tail is outside of the turn, that is a skid, like your car. If you were driving your car and you took your car into a turn, right? Front wheels, back wheels. When you start to lose your back wheels, what's the car do? It goes out. It's skidding. All right. If the tail goes to the inside of the turn while it's trying to make that turn, it's not coordinated. So that is a skid. All right. When the tail follows the nose around the turn and it's not skidding or slipping, that is a coordinated turn. So I hope that made sense. And that's slipping and skidding. All right. Let's see here. Okay, I have a question. I didn't talk about load factor. Yeah. Sorry, guys. When you look at that load factor chart, you see load factor or G units and bank of angle in degrees. When we bank an aircraft, all right, the weight increases. Like, okay, let's say if we bank the aircraft 60 degrees, if this was a 1,000 pound aircraft, it's now 2,000 pounds because there's 2 units of gravitational pull or 2 G's acting on your body. Right now, I'm sitting down, there's only 1 G acting on me. You can feel gravitational pull like if you've ever been like in a car or on a roller coaster. When that roller coaster makes a turn and you get pulled over to the left, okay? Or when the roller coaster goes down in the bottom of a dip and then it comes up, you actually increase weight. Okay, you can feel your body just kind of it's more weight. All right. Conversely, when the roller coaster goes over the top of a hill and then boom, you become weightless for a moment because the gravitational pull is like, okay. So you have positive G's and you have negative G's. The positive G's are when you're loading up or you're skidding the car and you kind of get thrown into the door. The negative G's is when you are on that roller coaster and boom, if they didn't have those restraints, you would fly straight up at the top because you've gone weightless for a moment. So that's load factor chart. And that's what the load factor chart is demonstrating. When you bank the aircraft 60 degrees, the weight of the aircraft actually doubles because there's two G units acting on the aircraft, your body, everything inside the aircraft. Okay, in order. Okay, I didn't post this. Let me post this so we have a math question here. Okay, the question is posted, folks. And it is as follows. Okay, in order to check on a shipment of 500 articles, a sampling of 50 articles was carefully inspected. Of the sample, 4 articles were found to be defective. On this basis, what is the probable percentage of defective articles in this original shipment? Okay, so line by line diagram, guys. Very, very important. Okay, so as you read through this, we're going to check on a shipment and it has 500 articles in it, or 500 pieces. All right. We're going to select 50 of these pieces. All right. And this is a sample group. So we take these 50 pieces and we find 4 defective items, defects, out of 4. Okay, so the way I look at this is, what is the probable percentage of defective articles in the original shipment? If we took 10%, of the shipment and we came up with 4. All right. So I would say 40 items, you'd have 40 defects in the entire shipment. Or I can't say 0.4%. 40 defects out of 50. I would use is over of is 500 X percent over 100%. 4,000 divided by 500. Chop off an equal amount of zeros, and I'll get the same answer. 8%. 0.8%. Oh. Let me just look at that. 40 pieces is 8% of 500. Yeah. And type 1 if everybody got that, please. Yeah, I was going to try to get one last question in as time. All right. This is an Army Aviation Information question. I'm posting it on the Facebook page, and this will be our last question today. Okay, the question is as follows. It is a Army Aviation Information question. And the question is as follows. In the case of helicopters, lift is produced by blank moving through the air at a speed sufficient to create blank. A is rotor blades, gyroscopic precession. B is the flybar and anti-drag force. C is airfoils and air pressure differential. And D is none of the above. The answer is C, airfoils and a pressure differential. So I'll read it, filling in the blanks. In the case of helicopters, lift is produced by airfoils, your main rotor, moving through the air at a sufficient speed to create a pressure differential. You have low pressure on the top, higher pressure on the bottom, and this is how lift is produced. Bernoulli's principle. As the velocity of a fluid increases, its internal pressure decreases. So Bernoulli's principle will never ever go away. It's going to be there in flight training when you guys get to Fort Rucker, and you are going to have to know Bernoulli's principle. So, yeah, in the case of helicopters, lift is produced by airfoils moving through the air at a sufficient speed to create a pressure differential. All right. That pressure differential is the reason why we have induced drag, by the way. So, I'd like to thank for all the new people I saw come in. Scotty Flo, good to see you. Well, Philip, you're kind of new, but not really. But you're new. You're new. Marcus Wilkerson, I think I've seen you before. All right. So no, I really appreciate you guys coming out and presenting questions again as you go through your test prep books. Just like, look, there's something in there you don't understand, I'm sure. And don't ever feel like, oh, that question's so stupid, I'm not going to ask that. You know, you can send it to my email or you can DM me, and you know, I'll just be like anonymous. I will not mention your names unless you say, hey man, shout me out, Kino. You know, I won't do it. You know, because we're all here to learn, and everybody's at different levels. And I would never ever look at you and be, oh man, that's a dumb question. I would never do that. If you don't understand the question, it is my job to turn the light on in the room, so to speak, and to make sure that you're crystal clear. And you ask any one of my people, that's how I am. I would never ever, you know, don't feel like, oh, this question is too simple or whatever. You know, hey, all are at different parts or walks, you know, in the journey. So again, I say again, most people are not ready for this test. You only have two opportunities to take this test. All right. I would rather be prepared the first time around. Okay. So I do offer tutoring. If you don't like me for some reason, find a tutor. For real. Find someone that specializes in the SIFT test prep. Because I've only met 3 people that were ready for this test, like right out the gate. I worked with them for an hour. So this was over a space of 10 years. I only met 3 people that were like, I'm like, dude, you don't need me. Go take the test. So don't waste it. You only got two times. So let's say, oh, I'm gonna just take it and just see how I do. All right, boom. You take it. Now you only have one more shot left. I would rather be prepared and have 2 shots at this exam. Being prepared and have 2 shots, because 9 times out of 10, if you're prepared, you're only gonna take it the one time, and you're going to be done with it. So yeah, I know the recruiter's going to be upset at me for saying that, because a lot of the recruiters are like, oh, just come on in, take it, see how you do. But then boom, you go and you crash and burn on it. Now you only have one more chance. So I would rather have 2 bullets in the gun if a cougar or a tiger or something was running after me, and being trained how to shoot properly. I'd rather have 2 bullets than firing 1, then being trained, and then, wow, I only got 1 bullet left. That's it. That's my little corny little analogy. So listen, all you guys be safe out there. We have the CV stuff going on and everything like that. Make sure you guys are taking the proper precautions. I'll be back next week, 1400 every Saturday, in the United States Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps Aviation Selection Test Battery, and the Officer Aptitude Rating. Even if you're prepared for the SIFT, there's still math questions. You can come to that session, and mechanical questions. The math and the mechanical is like almost the same, or I prepare people the same for it. I've developed the system. So I will see you guys next week. Study hard and be safe, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye, YouTube.